Welcome to Wake Up and Live with the Arts. I'm Sue Johnson, your host this evening, along with James McGilbray, our videographer, and Lester Bryant, our editor, who is in the studio. And we are welcoming you to the Caramoo House on East 89th in Cleveland, Ohio, where we are chatting with two of Cleveland's artistic, wonderful personalities. One is Cierra Weissmiller, a Cleveland Institute of Art student who has lots of promise and skills and ability and creativity on tap. And we'll be talking with her as well as, the powerful, the unbelievable Ade Borisade. She is unbelievably, as a scholar, an educator, a playwright, a storyteller. I don't know what she is. I guess she's a gardener, a painter, a bookie, I don't know, because she keeps surprising us with all of her creative talent. So we are happy to welcome you both.
Thank you.
And Cierra, it's nice to have you on the show as a young person who is connected with Ade. And how did that happen that you met up with her?
Well, my first semester at the Cleveland Institute of Art, I'm in foundations right now, so we had a class called charrettes. It's where we
class called
charrettes.
Charrettes.
It's where we dabbled with different forms of art, and we could go out and collaborate with the community. And so my class with Jody, we went to the Abington Arms where Ade lives, and we had to listen to the people there and write about their stories or make an art piece about their story. And I chose Ade, and so I decided to do an art piece about her research because that is her story.
And what is the art piece you decided to do about her story, which we're going to hear a great deal about?
It is a sculpture.
Let's show it to the audience.
It's a sculpture. It's called Creating Memories of Human History. It features Ade's hand holding a levitating globe with the DNA points of African American history all around the globe, which is a part of Ade's history. I really wanted to do an inspirational piece from Ade. She worked on this beautiful painting that's right behind me that features the history of African Americans and the first woman. And so I wanted to do something that inspired me, and she inspired me to do this piece. I also wanted to have a part of her in this piece, so I used her hand to hold the globe to show unity. I also asked her for some fabric for the scarf because I wanted to show a nice, beautiful aspect of her.
And you have silver, they look like pinheads or bullet pieces. Tell us about the silver decor that you have on the globe.
Those are actually silver push pins. I wanted to make the points stand out, so I used push pins on the globe, and then I connected them with actual sewing thread, different colors to show the different types of DNA. I referenced the colors off of Ade's sketch that she did of her painting before she actually made it, so I wanted to at least go with the theme.
Okay, and is that your first piece of art as a student, or is that a piece where you've been progressing as a student?
It is my first plaster piece I
Okay.
have ever done as a student. So there was some difficulties, but in the end it worked out because I used a plaster kit. It's called the Luna Bean kit. You can get it online. What you can do, you can mold your actual hand or a body part, and then it gives you plaster to mix in and pour in. So that's what I used, and it got all the fine details of the lines of her hands.
So that is Ade's actual hand?
Yes, it's Ade's actual hand.
My energy will forever be in that piece.
Yes.
And radiate out to the world. Yes, indeed. So now, this is your second semester you are in, or third? Where are you in your schooling?
I am in my second semester of freshman year.
Okay, and what kind of courses are you taking now?
Right now, I am taking Art History 1. I'm also taking Writing 3. I'm doing a drawing course. It's my second drawing course. Also a design course. And now I have craft electives. That's where I get to learn how to make jewelry, how I get to shape and form glass, and how I get to use ceramics and make ceramics.
Now, in your working with Ade, did that pique or extend your interest in African history and art or what have you? Or was this something that was a unique project for you?
I would have to say both. It was unique and it piqued my interest because I didn't really know a lot about African history and African art, only what I've learned from school. And so it really opened my eyes to show me a new world far and beyond the one I know.
That's beautiful. So have you kept up your connection with Ade as she has proceeded with her work on African history and the woman of Africa, which we're going to hear about in a moment?
I've been trying to keep up a connection with her during sometimes it's hard with all the projects I'm getting from teachers, but I do try. I came to their art show and I bought one of her handmade table sets.
Oh, that's right.
It's a tie-dye and it's orange and yellow and it's really pretty. I have it on my desk in my dorm.
Have you gotten far enough along in life to have an idea of what your career plans are with your artwork yet?
Yes, I want to be a sculptor.
Okay, and is there such a thing as what kind of sculptor? Of people, of landscapes, of animals, of what?
I want to do kind of abstract sculpting. Like you see if you walk around Cleveland, how you just see like those like giant pillars.
Like public art.
Yeah, public art. That's what I want to do. And I want to use metal and somehow like cement to tie them together or plaster and use different materials.
That sounds beautiful.
Thank you.
And so connecting with you has been a beautiful thing and has worked out well with her sculpture of the hand and the universe. And so tell us your story about how you connected with Cierra, and it has added to your work in creating your story of the African woman who
is the mother of all humanity.
The mother of all humanity. Yes. Okay. Tell us about that story.
That story, well, I have to begin with my own scholarship and everything. My PhD is in Africology.
Africology?
Africology,
That's a new word to me.
It came into vogue with the Africa-centered perspective in academics, yes.
Okay.
And my scholarship and contributions were a part of shaping that whole paradigm. What it means is, up until 1988, when Molefe Asante created that new department that offered the PhD it started out as African American Studies, but Africology is a better term.
I see.
Because we study, if you say African American Studies, it just looks at African Americans, and that's not what we do, and it's not the way we even started. We study our people all over the world. We don't have to be born in Africa. Africa is born in us.
Okay.
And we continue the culture generation after generation. Over hundreds of years, it is still in us. And I'll take a brief aside. For example, every dance movement that has been among African Americans, those are not new movements. They are all African, they all come from African traditional dance.
Yes.
The way we sing, the quarter tones in African music, so many things. So we are a continuation of who we are from Mother Africa up until now. And that's the way it will always be. So it started there. Now, you can take, in Africology, you can take the history track or you can take the culture track. I took the culture track. So I focus on the philosophy, religion, and culture of our people worldwide.
And how long ago did you begin your scholarly studies?
Actually, I started that even before I went into the PhD program in 1988. Even in my master's program at Ohio State, where I studied all of a sudden I went blank. Senior.
I know what that's like. Uh-huh.
Communications. I was a communication student in focusing on rhetoric, spoken, because I always had this curiosity as to what makes the black church and black preaching, which is a form of rhetoric, oratory, sermonics, they all tie in together. What makes the black church different from the white church? So that's where I really began to start taking anthropology courses along with my communications courses.
Okay.
And that's how I developed my thesis, looking at the sermonics and breaking it down. I am very proud to say that I am the first person, the first scholar since Aristotle. I think that was 1,000 years ago.
Easily.
I am the first scholar since Aristotle to publish a competing paradigm for speech. Aristotle had only 3 elements: a speaker, a speech, and an audience. I came up with 7. And I published it. So ever since then, scholars around the world have been using my research. And so that's where it actually started. It was something already in me.
Yes.
That created these questions that sent me on this cultural quest. So I did my master's program at Ohio State and didn't ever think of going into a PhD program until Malefi Asante, Dr. Asante, opened that PhD program at Temple University, and I was one of the first students to enroll. Mm-hmm. And I walked in and burst into tears. I just felt that spiritually, yes, that I was at home. So that's where it all started, and I have been on this road ever since. So I studied the culture in the Caribbean, in Brazil and Costa Rica, and of course in Africa.
And you lived many years in Africa, did you not?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Which parts of Africa did you reside?
Liberia. I was recruited to go to Liberia, and I spent 12 years in Liberia. Not all of it was teaching, but I just returned home 2013. In 2008, Cuttington University recruited me to come to Liberia, Cuttington University, and to establish a department of Africana and Liberian studies. And I thought that was strange.
Why?
Because when I got there, they had been in the process of becoming westernized for so long that they were right on the threshold of almost forgetting they were African.
Wow.
Now, I was wearing African style clothes and Africans and African clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Long before I ever went to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am coming into an African country, wearing African clothes, and they were not wearing African clothes.
Okay. They were highly westernized.
Highly westernized. And I told them how strange that was. And they were losing the culture. Many had lost they had changed their family names. So, as a result of this, I started a program. As chair of the department, I started a program that it was an outreach program that connected the villages with the university. And I made it mandatory that the students that would be paid to go with me as my assistants, I made it mandatory that they knew the language of the village people that we were going into for the program for that day. All of a sudden, now, it became fashionable for them to become who they already were. So I served as chair of that department, and what I did was I pulled all the deans together and formed a new curriculum that was Africa-centered, because what I found, I know some Liberians are going to be angry with me. I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth. I could find no books on Africa. Everything was on America. They were losing themselves. There wasn't a history textbook in Liberia. So I decided that it was my responsibility to write a history textbook. I had
interrupt to ask, why were there American history books in Liberia and no Liberian history books? Do you know why that was?
There was this concentration on America. With all the PhDs that were, in Liberia, wonderfully educated scholars. But most of them concentrated on economics and politics and So I actually authored their first history textbook. It's on Amazon. I did that before I left.
So you have told the audience that you were highly creative and scholarly, and you have contributed to society your knowledge, your information that is quite helpful to advancing the Liberian culture, and thereby, I'm sure, extending it to other cultures so that people learn their history. And it's appropriate because, coincidentally, right now we are in African American History Month, Black History Month.
Yes.
Which I subscribe to, but I also have gotten to the point in life where I wish that we could have a Black History Month, but I wish it were all year round. And I think Ade's research and her publishings and all the things that she has created, I'm sure will help carry us throughout an entire year, decade, centuries, what have you. So we're going to have Ade back and learn more about her contributions. So we invite you to, as we say, stay tuned. There'll be more to learn from Ade and Cierra Weissmiller. We want to thank them. And we also want to remind you, be sure to wake up and live with the arts every day.